I've actually reunited with him as of late, believe it or not.
Well, it's so interesting because I used to have talks with him from time to time when he was doing his abortion rooms, every day for like 6 months or something. And I have told people who've been horrified by me saying this that I have a kind of a grudging admiration for Tom because he is a guy who really walks the walk when it comes to believing that abortion is murder, right? You know what I mean, I'm sure. I asked him about that, as I do everybody when they say that. I asked him what should be the punishment, life in prison or execution. And he was pretty much down with either option. It certainly had to be one or the other. He agreed with me. And I've rarely found people who would do that. And I find it, I wish that more people who claim to believe that abortion was murder would come out as forcefully and publicly as Tone does and say, is it execution or life in prison? And then I wonder at that point whether those people, because I don't think Tone made it pretty clear that if democracy would allow it to happen, then we shouldn't have democracy either. I wonder, because actually the need to execute women who have abortion certainly overrules any need to have the people of the United States make a democratic decision on what they want to do about abortion. I wonder where you fall on that.
Yeah, I don't think it should be a matter of, the public vote. I think it should be a law that says it just needs to be a right to life for the child, and then anybody who terminates that child in the way that we do,
Oh my God!
So what would you?
He's so
I have two questions. Then. What's your preferred punishment? And I think you just said that if it took deviating from democratic principle, in other words, you want to take the decision about that out of the hands of the people and put it in the hands, I guess, of the clergy. I mean, who would make this law, and how would you overrule the vote of the people?
I mean, it would just be, if we have the states, it would just be a national ban of some sort.
Yeah, but the people aren't going to vote for that, so how are you going to do that?
They wouldn't vote for it. Right. And as far as how they're going to carry out the penalties, I think, you could have it be something like third-degree murder or something like that. I would be fine with that, because the issue here is there has been just an enormous amount of support for abortion. So people are kind of growing up in an environment that is very in favor of that particular procedure. That a lot of people really dispersed when you have something going on that's very similar to factory farming in
Sam. Oh yeah, Kylie, where's
occurred.
Shoppy into here?
What was his name?
Shoppy. He has like 5 accounts, but I think you only follow.
I don't think I can invite him to the house.
Okay, this is authorities, incredibility, sociality of morons. So, one point of good reference is always the printing press, because computers are technically the printing press updated, and so Clubhouse is technically computers updated with printing press technology. And basically, based on what people say on this app, their books would be the worst books ever made, and totally useless to even listen to. Therefore, we have to try to make sense of all this by pointing it out in order to remonetize it. This is the theory of creative capital with Adrian Dim. I've recently been blocked by Elon Musk and suspended by Elon Musk. Not only have my accounts been blocked, but they've been suspended by Elon Musk. So I got that going for me. I guess that gives me some credibility, right? I don't know. Maybe there just wasn't enough time.
We just need a moment to explain. Make it make sense. Renslayer had a life on the timeline. You had a life on the timeline. And so did you. So did I.
This changes everything.
This changes nothing. I'm sorry, Hunter. We don't protect. Protect? Is that what you think we've been doing? We haven't been protecting. We've been destroying. We can't go back to pruning those branches.
The Diamond Sutra. Translated by Red Pine. Narrated by Captain Miko. Thus have I heard. Once the Bhagavan was dwelling near Shravasti at Anathapindana garden in Jetta Forest, together with a full assembly of 1,250 bhikshus and a great many fearless bodhisattvas. One day, before noon, the Bhagavan put on his patched robe and picked up his bowl and entered the capital of Shravasti for offerings. After begging for food in the city and eating his meal of rice, he returned from his daily round in the afternoon, put his robe and bowl away, washed his feet, and sat down on the appointed seat. After crossing his legs and adjusting his body, he turned his awareness to what was before him. A number of bhikshus then came up to where the Bhagavan was sitting. After touching their heads to his feet, they walked around him to the right 3 times and sat down to one side. On this occasion, the Venerable Subhuti was also present in the assembly. Rising from his seat, he uncovered one shoulder and touched his right knee to the ground. Pressing his palms together and bowing to the Buddha, he said, "It is rare, Bhagavan, most rare indeed, Shagata, how the Tathagata, the Arhan, the fully enlightened one, blesses fearless bodhisattvas with the best of blessings. And it is rare, Bhagavan, how the Tathagata, the Arhan, the fully enlightened one, entrusts
No
fearless
credibility or
bodhisattvas
authority
with
whatsoever.
the
He's
greatest
mentally
of
ill.
trusts.
Listening to him is a
Even
waste
so,
of your
Bhagavan,
life.
If a noble son or daughter should set forth on the Bodhisattva path, how should they stand? How should they walk? And how should they control their thoughts? Well said, Subhuti. Well said. So it is, Subhuti. It is as you say. The Tathagata blesses fearless bodhisattvas with the best of blessings and entrusts fearless bodhisattvas with the greatest of trusts. You should therefore truly listen, Subhuti, and consider this well. I shall tell you how those who set forth on the bodhisattva path should stand, how they should walk, and how they should control their thoughts. May it be so, Bhagavan. Subhuti, those who would now set forth on the bodhisattva path should give birth to this thought. However many beings there are, in whatever realms of being might exist, whether they are born from an egg, or born from the womb, born from water, or born from the air, whether they have form or no form, whether they have perception or no perception, or neither perception nor no perception, in whatever conceivable realm of being one might conceive of beings, in the realm of complete nirvana, I shall liberate them all. And though I thus liberate countless beings, not a single being is liberated.
Find your part. Get set. Go. Shop Grainger.com for the product you need delivered fast. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
And why not?
Bullets all hit the pegs of the stake without fail. The warm-up is over. Next he has to make the bullet bounce twice off the steel plate before hitting the armor on his chest. The difficulty then continues to escalate, this time requiring a hit on the cup on his head. The man's hand trembles. He has another brush with death. The challenge is over. The man takes his prize and leaves in style. But the next day, an aristocrat arrives to fight the man. The referee puts down 2 guns, but only one is loaded. The aristocrat walks over and chooses first. He hesitantly touched the first gun, then chose the second one. But the man only picked up the other gun very calmly. Next, the aristocrat puts his gun to the man's head, and the man raises his gun. The referee starts to count down, but the man puts down his gun and turns his head slowly, which is very arrogant. At this moment, the aristocrat's heart wants to kill the fortune teller by 1,000 cuts. The man didn't say much. He raised his gun and handed it to the referee and left the ring in style. The man...
Busters did an experiment where it's physically impossible for 2 hammers to bang together and for them to explode. So all of you telling me that this is dangerous?
Things you didn't know.
guys are about as far away from fine as they could possibly be, Barbara Lee. What do you want, Jeremiah?
Jeremiah here.
So what do I call you?
Call me Jack. No, sorry, Joseph. John J.
Where can I work as a personal trainer? You can make a full-time income or side income working at any gym or wellness center. I'm saying.
If you've assumed a character beyond your strength, you have played a poor figure in that, and neglected one that is within your powers. Fellow, you have come to blows at home with a slave. You have turned the household upside down and thrown the neighborhood into confusion. Do you come to me then with airs of assumed modesty? Do you sit down like a sage and criticize my explanation of the readings, and whatever idle babble you say has come into my head? Have you come full of envy and dejected because nothing is sent you from home, and while the discussion is going on, do you sit brooding on nothing but how your father or your brother are disposed towards you? What are they saying about me here? About me there? At this moment, they imagine I am making progress and saying he will return perfectly omniscient. I wish I could become omniscient before I return, but that would be very troublesome. No one sends me anything. The baths at Nicopolis are dirty. Things are wretched at home and wretched here. Then they say nobody is any the better for the school. Who comes to the school with a sincere wish to learn, to submit his principles to correction and himself to treatment? Who, to gain a sense of his wants? Why then be surprised if you carry home from the school exactly what you bring into it? Epictetus, I have often come desiring to hear you speak, and you have never given me any answer. Now, if possible, I entreat you, say something to me. Is there, do you think, replied Epictetus, an artist speaking as of other things, if it is to be done skillfully and with profit to the hearer? Yes. And are all profited by what they hear, or only some among them? So that it seems there is an art of hearing as well as of speaking. To make a statue needs skill, to view a statue aright needs skill also, admitted. And I think all will allow that one who proposes to hear philosophers speak needs a considerable training in hearing. Is that not so? Then tell me, on what subject are you able to hear me? Why on good and evil? The good and evil of what? A horse, an ox? No, of a man. Do we know then what man is? What his nature is? That is the idea we have of him. And are our ears practiced in any degree on the subject? Nay, do you understand what nature is? Can you follow me in any degree when I say that I shall have to use demonstration? Do you understand what demonstration is? What true or false is? Must I drive you to philosophy? Show me what good I am to do by discoursing with you. Rouse my desire to do so. The sight of the pasture it loves stirs in the sheep the desire to feed. Shoot a stone or a bit of bread and it remains unmoved. Thus we must also have certain natural desires, and one that moves us to speak when we find a listener that is worth his salt, one that himself stirs the spirit. But if he sits by like a stone or a tuft of grass, how can he rouse a man's desire? Then you will say nothing to me. I can only tell you this, that one who knows not who he is and to what end he was born, what kind of world this is, and with whom he is associated therein, one who cannot distinguish good and evil, beauty and foulness, truth and falsehood, will never follow reason in shaping his desires and impulses and repulsions, nor yet innocent denial or suspension of judgment, but will in one word go about deaf and blind, thinking himself to be somewhat, and then he is in truth of no account. Is there anything new in all this? Is not this ignorance the cause of all the mistakes and mischances of men since the human race began? This is all I have to say to you, and even this against the grain. Why?
because you have not stirred my spirit. For what can I see in you to stir me, as a spirited horse will stir a judge of horses? Your body that you maltreat, your dress that is luxurious, your behavior, your look, nothing whatever. When you want to hear a philosopher, do not say you say nothing to me. Only show yourself worthy or fit to hear, and then you will see how you will move the speaker. And now, when you see brothers apparently good friends and living in accord, do not immediately pronounce anything upon their friendship, though they should affirm it with an oath, though they should declare for us to live apart is a thing impossible. For the heart of a bad man is faithless, unprincipled, inconstant. Now overpowered by one impression, now by another. Ask not the usual questions. Were they born of the same parents, reared together and under the same tutor?
Fuck off, Adrian.
This only.
I guess I'm
They
doing
place
something
no real
right.
interest.
I didn't even say anything.
Things are in the will. If in outward things, call them not friends any more than faithful.
In favor of abortion, God being in favor of abortion, the bitters, the water.
Yeah, this
Pretty
is-
soon, sooner or later.
So, yeah, I disagree. I don't think it's a God mandated abortion. It's just a test of a woman unfaithful. And unfaithful doesn't equate to being pregnant. You can be unfaithful and not be pregnant.
There you go, Benjamin. Don't go silent, brother.
Oh, I mean, okay.
Pretty soon, sooner or later, you'll realize Andrew is crazy. Loves to hear his voice, sits in his car all day on Clubhouse.
Not be pregnant, take the money off the bill, or you could be pregnant.
Constant, brave, or free. Call them not even human beings if you have any sense. But should you hear that these men hold the good to lie only in the will, only in rightly dealing with the things of sense, take no more trouble to inquire whether they are father and son or brothers or comrades of long standing, but sure of this one thing, pronounce as boldly that they are friends, as that they are faithful and just. For where else can friendship be found than where modesty is, where there is an interchange of things fair and honest, and of such only? No man can rob us of our will, no man can lord it over that. When disease and death overtake me, I would fain be found engaged in the task of liberating mine own will from the assaults of passion, from hindrance, from resentment, from slavery. Thus would I fain be found employed, so that I may say to God, have I in aught transgressed thy commands? Have I in aught perverted the faculties, the senses, the natural principles that thou didst give me? Have I ever blamed thee, or found fault with thine administration? When it was thy good pleasure, I fell sick, and so did other men, but my will consented. Because it was thy pleasure, I became poor, but my heart rejoiced. No power in the state was mine, because thou wouldst not such power I never desired. Hast thou ever seen me of more doleful countenance? On that account have I not ever drawn nigh unto thee with cherished, cheerful look, waiting upon thy commands, attentive to thy signals. Wilt thou that I now depart from the great assembly of men? I go, I give thee all thanks that thou hast deemed me worthy to take part with thee in this assembly, to behold thy works, to comprehend this thine administration. Such I would were the subject of my thoughts, my pen, my study, when death overtakes me. Seemeth it nothing to you, never to accuse, never to blame either good or man, to wear ever the same countenance in going forth as in coming in? This was the secret of Socrates, yet he never said that he knew or taught anything. Who amongst you makes this his aim? Were it indeed so, you would gladly endure sickness, hunger, aye, death itself. How are we constituted by nature, to be free, to be noble, to be modest? For what other living thing is capable of blushing or of feeling the impression of shame, and to subordinate pleasure to the ends for which nature designed us, as a handmaid and a minister in order to call forth our activity, in order to keep us constant to the path prescribed by nature. The husband deals with land, the physicians and trainers with the body, the wise man with his own mind. Which of us does not admire what Lycurgus the Spartan did? The young citizen had put out his eye and been handed over to him by the people to be punished as his own discretion. Lycurgus abstained from all vengeance, but on the contrary instructed him and made a good man of him, producing him in the public in the theatre. He said to the astonished Spartans, I received this young man at your hands full of violence and wanton insolence. I restore him to you in his right mind and fit to serve his country. The money changer may not reject Caesar's coin, nor may the seller of herbs, but must, when once the coin is shown, deliver what is sold for it, whether he will or no. So is it also with the soul. Once the good appears, it attracts towards itself, evil repels. But a clear and certain impression of the good the soul will never reject any more than men do Caesar's coin, and this hangs every impulse alike of man and God. As to what common sense was, Epictetus replied, as that may be called a common ear which distinguishes only sounds, while that which distinguishes musical notes is not common, but produced by training. So there are certain things which men not entirely perverted see by the natural principle common to all. Such a constitution of the mind is called common sense. Canst thou judge men? Then make us imitators of thyself, as Socrates did. Do this, do not do that, else will I cast thee into prison. This is not governing men like reasonable creatures. Say rather, as God hath ordained, so do, else thou wilt suffer chastisement and loss. Askest thou what lost? None other than this, to have left undone what thou shouldst have done, to have lost the faithfulness, the reverence, the modesty that is in thee. Greater loss than this seek not to find. His son is dead. What has happened? His son is dead. Nothing more, nothing. His ship is lost. What has happened? His ship is lost. He has been haled to prison. What has happened? He has been haled to prison. Without any of these things are misfortunes to him. He's an addition with every one makes of his own, but you say God is unjust in this way. Why? For having given thee endurance and greatness of soul, for having made such things to be no evils, for placing happiness within thy reach even when enduring them, for opening unto thee a door when things make not for thy good. Depart, my friend, and find no fault. You are sailing to Rome, and you tell me to obtain the post of governor of Gnosus. You are not content to stay at home with the honors you had before. You want something on a larger scale and more conspicuous. But when did you ever undertake a voyage for the purpose of reviewing your own principles and getting rid of any of them that proved unsound? Whom did you ever visit for that object? What time did you ever set yourself for that? What age run over the times of your life by yourself if you are ashamed before me? Did you examine your principles when a boy? Did you not do everything just as you do now? When you were a stripling, attending the school of oratory and practicing the art yourself, what did you ever imagine you lacked? And when you were a young man, entered upon public life, and were pleading causes and making a name, who any longer seemed equal to you?